so welcome to the FHGEN 140 Grammar Guide for Outlining. This is a really important step in your writing process. This is something that you shouldn't leave out when you're writing. Okay, so why are we going to outline? So as I said, it's an important part of the writing process. It helps your writing to be organized and thorough. So when you have a quality outline, you ensure you've covered all the important points. If you don't have an outline and you just sit down and write, you may miss important points. You may emphasize things that aren't as important to your thesis. A good outline helps you to organize your material well so you prove your thesis and have good transitions. This is a huge benefit of an outline because if you don't outline your paper well, you can't be sure that you're proving your thesis, and you may write in an order that where it's hard to transition between paragraphs and between ideas. So let's look at an insufficient outline. So this is a short outline that lacks detail and it will not help you to write well. So here's an example of kind of an insufficient outline that I've seen. So here we have Henry VIII and three subsections: early years, has many wives, and breaks with the Catholic Church to form the Church of England. This is a very problematic outline for a few reasons. First of all, there's no thesis, there's no conclusion, and then each of these subsections is problematic as well. So why does this outline not work? So we look at early years. It's clearly not specific. We have no direction because we have no thesis. What are we going to talk about from his early years? How do we know what important points to bring out if we aren't sure where the rest of the paper is going? The next section, has many wives. Again, it's problematic because it's not specific, and we can also have a lot of overlap with other sections. So we're going to have a real problem with organization in this paper. So especially with this having many wives and breaks with the Catholic Church to form the Church of England. Now, Henry VIII's marriage to Anne Boleyn is a huge part of the break with the Catholic Church. So we would maybe have to talk about it twice. I don't know. Are you going to revisit it? So that's a question you would have to ask. Again, this third point is not specific, and it's a huge topic. This is the Reformation in England. Without a thesis, without knowing where we're going to go, what are we going to focus on in this paper? So we start with a level 1 outline, and a good outline includes the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. This is a very simple outline. It looks similar to what we just looked at. It lists only the main sections of the paper. So it's going to have an introduction and then 3 or more topics for the paper, probably 3 for a short paper, many more for a longer paper, and then a conclusion. So in this one we have an introduction, Henry VIII's early years, his 6 wives, a break with the Catholic Church, and a conclusion. Very similar to what we saw in the first, that insufficient outline. But what we're going to do is we're going to start filling this out. We're going to add subsections for each of our main section. So the first one, an introduction, and these 3 subsections should probably be included on almost every paper you write. So A, the motivation. Why is this work important? B, the objectives or thesis statement, and C, an organizational overview of the paper. So, for example, we might say introduction. What's our motivation? Well, during the 38-year reign of Henry VIII, ideas of kingship and religion were permanently altered. Well, that seems like an important thing. Maybe a good reason to write a biography of Henry VIII. Subsection B. Through his self-interested actions, Henry VIII changed government and religion in England. Well, that's going to give us some direction when we're talking about his wives, about the Reformation, about his early life. Now we're focusing in on some things that we're going to discuss. C, what will this paper discuss? What your reader needs to know what you're going to be talking about in this paper. It helps them keep everything organized. So we're going to talk about first his early life, second his 6 wives, and third the Reformation in England. And that we're just going to tell the reader that in our introduction, and then the rest of our outline will help us to keep that straight and to avoid the conflicts I talked about earlier between those last 2 topics. So you do this with each section included in the level 1 outline. Okay, outlining level 3. So we have our subsections. Now this third level outline is going to help us flesh out details and keep our paper in order. At this point in time, you're going to start visualizing what the paper is going to look like. You're going to start being able to see the organization of your paper, be able to understand where you're going to go with this. And because you're starting to visualize what your paper is going to look like, you might have to fix parts of the outline or reorder topics. And but this is a great time to do it. I would much rather fix my outline than have to completely overhaul a paper or cut sections of the paper or add new things. It's so much easier to do it in this beginning phase. Okay. So here we have a level 3 outline of our conclusion. We're going to start, I'm going to show you the level 2 and then level 3. So in our conclusion, and again, this is something you should have in every conclusion, we're going to have a summary of our objectives and approach of this paper. So we're going to reword the thesis. B, the important points of the paper. And C, a clincher, which would be like a meaningful final sentence, something that ties the paper together, that leaves your reader with a feeling of satisfaction. They've finished the paper. So in this, so we're going to have the conclusion. We're going to have a summary of our objectives and the approach of this paper. So we've written Henry VIII was an important English monarch. Those policies were motivated by self-interest. Henry VIII's actions changed government and religion in England. So we have reworded our thesis. What were some important points we talked about? So we had 3 important points that we discussed. So Henry VIII's father could be miserly and controlling. After his death, Henry VIII seized control of his own life. Okay, 2, Henry's desire for an heir led him to marry 6 women, and these marriages would have major consequences for England. Number 3, Henry's break with the Catholic Church enriched the crown and changed religion and society in England. And then we would have our clincher, that final sentence. Okay, so let's look overall so this is for a short paper. In a longer paper, you're going to have underneath each paragraph topic, you'll have some subtopics. If we went to like a level 4 outline, but we're just going to discuss through level 3. So we have our introduction that we talked about, and then our topics, subsections, and then paragraph topics within those subsections for topics 1, 2, and 3, and then our conclusion that we also talked about. So in conclusion, outline is a crucial part of a well-written paper. This is not a step that you want to skip. An effective outlining helps the writer present their thoughts in an organized, that would be organized, not organizes, in an organized and thorough manner. If you've outlined effectively, if you're organized, if you've been thoughtful about it, your paper is going to be much better for the outline. So I hope that helps, and best of luck in your writing.